Digital ladies breaking the chain, rising in crypto, we're changing the game. Crypto frontier, we're claiming our space. Not your keys, not your crypto, know your place. Unscripted, we're bold, we're free. Melissa Key, the Lady K, and Opti Dipito, come ride this wave. Digital wealth, we're here to pay.
Crypto nights, we're lighting the spark. As we ignite now, we're setting the mark.
Safety first, we're keeping it tight. Blockchain power, we're shining the light. Unscripted, we're bold, we're free. Melissa Key, the Lady K, and Opti Dipito, come ride this wave.
Hello, welcome everyone to Digital Ladies Unscripted. How's everyone doing tonight?
Fantastic. How are you doing, Lady K?
Awesome. All right, so we are going to talk Trustless. In today's financial system, trust is the foundation, but also the problem. We trust banks to hold our money, credit agencies to rate us fairly, customers to pay us timely, financial advisors to grow our wealth, and governments to protect our value. Yet time after time, that trust has been broken through corruption, theft, mismanagement, and opaque systems. Blockchain technology introduces a radical alternative, a trustless system where rules and transactions are enforced by code, not by people or centralized authorities. In a trustless society, the protocol becomes the source of trust, transparent, verifiable, and decentralized, putting control back in the hands of the people. We'll explore how blockchain is reshaping the very idea of trust in finance, from payments to contracts, identity, ownership, and beyond, and how it's paving the way for a world where we can transact securely without needing to trust anyone at all. So
I like the sounds of that.
Absolutely.
Huh?
It's going to be a great conversation. I'm super excited for it, to be honest with you. Because a
Yeah.
lot is going on, you know what I mean? And so I think it's going to be great to be able to delve into this pretty heavily. I like it.
yeah, because there's a lot of there's a lot of problems like with trust in our current system, right?
100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you figure all of those centralized systems that are normal to us, right? Mm-hmm. We rely on these centralized systems and never give it a thought, but those systems are easy prey for folks that want to try to steal the data. In fact, there were a couple of recent breaches of security. The Connex Credit Union in early June of 2025, hackers breached the United States-based credit union system, and it exposed sensitive personal and financial data for about 172,000 members, including their names, their social security numbers, their account numbers, their debit card details. And they finally disclosed it in August of 2025, which then, of course, everybody got the free credit monitoring and all of that kind of stuff. And no funds were stolen. However, all of their information was stolen. Yeah. And then the Coinbase exchange, they had something detected in May of 25, stemming from 2024 activity, where the cyber criminals bribed overseas third-party customer support agents to steal data from around 69,000 users. And again, it had, all of their names, emails, phone numbers, all of that stuff. And so, while we think it's scary, this unknown new direction that we're heading, we've already been in kind of a scary situation that most people don't even think about, right?
And the other aspect of it too, as well, Melissa, is, especially like being in Web3, right? Most of the people that you see online have avatars. They are not using their real names. They're, so building trust in that area is even worse, just because a lot of people have avatars. You don't see their faces. You don't know who they are. They don't dox themselves, and they don't And for those that don't know what doxing is, it means that they don't put their real name out there. They don't, they're not transparent in who they are. So in some of it, yeah, absolutely, Stone, the trust me, bro, and so, for us right now, we're having to kind of navigate through that whole thing and to find out what's real and what's not.
And talking about data breaches, like that drives me crazy. We are required to give them our information, and then they lose it, they mishandle it, and then they rate us.
Yep.
Like that's so bizarre, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is one of those things where, like I said, like we're programmed from the time that we're younger, that this is the way that it works. The whole credit system, all of these things, giving our information out freely and just assuming that these companies are being
Did I lose sound?
You might have.
I hope not.
I hear it now. Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear. But we assume they're diligently safeguarding our data, our information, our personal information, and that goes for everybody you give your information to online, as far as your Kroger's, all of your grocery stores, all of your stores that you sign up for coupons and whatever. They've got your name, they've got your email, they've got your address. They don't have necessarily your social security numbers and stuff, but they got a lot of your information, and they're not so safeguarding of it either. So yeah. It's a big deal to me.
And what's even crazier about it is, they have a certain amount of time to report that, right? And 9 times out of 10, when they do, it's already almost a year past when this breach has happened. So you can't even really go back far enough to see like how much it's affected you, how many people have called you based on the information that was breached. So from that vantage point, it just makes it very difficult for you to be able to safeguard all of your information, appropriately, and you can't necessarily trust almost any of the businesses out here that they're safe and secure.
And that's why, ZKPs and those types of protocols on the blockchain that will be able to allow us to have information on the public, blockchain without revealing that information. And then we can control that information and we can choose when we want to reveal it. And think about the amount of identity theft that might be saved because think of our, children or children's children, if they go into a system like this where their data has been protected since day one.
Yep. Right. No, you want to explain what ZKPs are?
Oh, zero knowledge proofs. And it think of it like it shields the data from being seen. Generally, you run the data, like your name and address, through a hash, and you're given a hash, and that represents the data. And when you run the data again, you see if the hash matches. If anything, a middle initials change, your street name spelled wrong, when you run it through the hash, it will produce a different unique hash. So when they go to match it, it won't match. So that's how you prove that's the information that was on the blockchain without showing that information.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. My question on that is, and I'm probably skipping out of line with this, but my thoughts on that, that I'd like to learn a little bit more on, and hopefully we can get someone on here, or maybe the answer to it. At some point, there has to be some entity that we trust that for the hash itself, right? Or how I say, who facilitates that, right? So we're going to say, I have this, you're going to go to the merchant to maybe apply for a loan or something like this. they don't need all of your personal information. You'll be able to verify yourself through the zero knowledge proof, right? What mechanism or what window are they going to go through in order to verify that, so that the merchant themselves or the institution themselves, they don't actually have access to your personal information? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the only way I see that working is if the postal service or FedEx, the mailing service, they're going to have to know your address, right? So, I mean, I think Amazon might be doing something like this already. Have you done an Amazon return recently?
Yeah.
Because like literally you just take this QR code and they scan it and then like it's right back in your account, right? Like I see it the same way, but on blockchain, you know. Obviously,
so like the Social Security Administration that has access to all of our Social Security numbers already, or whoever holds our birth certificates and whatnot, they are the institutions that already hold that information. So boom, that's going to be linked to them. So there isn't this extra group.
But haven't they already been hacked? Hasn't the Social Security office already been hacked?
Probably.
I think they have recently.
Would they notice though? Because they had like 300-year-olds on the payroll, right?
And right. Not even on the payroll, just getting benefits. Like, how are you 300 and change, like, and getting benefits? Like, come on.
I think a lot of those governmental agencies are getting a facelift and an infrastructure upgrade. Yeah. You know, like DJT is cleaning up the basement with the retiree records. They don't have to go in the basement anymore. So I think there's a lot of stuff like that that's being done in the background here for years. They've been working on it, and eventually it's all going to come full circle. That's what I speculate.
Speculate. Yeah. Opti, what do you think? What do you think?
My kids are being really loud in the background, and I'm sort of glad I haven't been called on yet. I'm just really excited about this conversation. I mean, all I wanted to say at the very beginning is, man, I really love that starting song. With regards to all this, like, I'm excited about having this conversation because, like, as a truther, blockchain, I totally need to leave the bus. They're being as loud as possible now. Can you hear them in the background?
A little bit, not much. Don't worry.
Okay. I'm excited about this conversation because this is what I was hoping blockchain would be able to facilitate. But as a truther, I mean, it's the opposite when you're looking at it and sort of the propaganda behind it. For those trying to keep the normal people out of the systems before it goes to what it's supposed to go to. My interpretation is that most of the truthers are afraid because of the lack of privacy and the lack of, this exactly what you're talking about. So I'm excited about talking about that. And I'm excited about, everything you said. I was thinking about the basement, Melissa. That was the thing that was in my head. I was like, oh yeah, that basement where like they have to go down to the basement and drop your information to retire. And I think, it just flows into the whole idea of Swift. And just like the upgrading, right? It's all an upgrading. And so while you're upgrading, how do you ensure things that are really important, like privacy? And, I find it so funny, the idea of that the name is Trustless, because in fact, it's actually to build trust. It's just that you don't have to rely on the human behind it. You rather rely on the systems that are fortified through what we're going to talk about tonight. So thanks so much for bringing this to the conversation. I have a feeling that this episode will be watched a lot in the future when people are trying to find information about zero knowledge proofs and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know the biggest one that everyone knows is like banks, right? Like, you give your money to banks and then they spend that money to make money and they put you through the ringer to even transact with your own money, right? So,
or even get money.
Or what?
Or even to be able to get money out.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think blockchain, solves that obviously by, it's a public ledger. You can see where all the transactions are going. You self-custody your own funds, right? But if there's a bank failure, right, which we've experienced, what happens? And I think that, like, you, sorry, I hear my cat. So the consensus mechanism, I think, is really cool because, you know, if you had an issue with your bank would be the deciding factor on how that issue is resolved, and you'd have to fight your bank, right? But the distributed ledger technology is great because all nodes hold the ledger state, and your balance. All nodes have to agree on what your balance is. And then it's immutable, meaning it can be changed. So if there's not going to be a dispute, there's only a dispute when you submit that transaction, whether it fails or succeeds. If it fails, try again, right? But once that transaction's gone through, you don't need to dispute it. It's not going to be changed. So, and that's not something that we get with current banks and the current system. We have to trust them when we give them our money, that they'll account for it correctly, right?
Yes.
We just don't need that on the ledger.
Well, and once we get to a point where things are transacting on the blockchain, and there aren't the intermediaries that are keeping the books, so to speak, housing all the data, all your personal information, where someone can get a hold of your banking information. It should cut down on the amount of erroneous or what do I want to say, fraudulent charges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious how it will end up with those types of transactions. And, you know, like with us using, say, the Zaman wallet, for example, using the XRP ledger, whenever we create a transaction, we have to sign that transaction, right? Right now, we use our cards and we swipe and then we put our PIN in. But I don't know about you guys, you can bypass the PIN. You can swipe the card and hit bypass PIN and walk out the store. And not one person ever says, can I see your driver's license to see if this is your card, right? It's like, if someone gets a hold of your card and they hit bypass PIN, they can use your card all day long, you know?
In Canada.
Unless you specifically have it set up where it can't be used, but only as a debit with PIN, right? That's the way you can protect yourself now. How is it in Canada, Opti?
Yeah, like there, it's all tap now. I'm shocked by it. Like, you know, it used to be, we really care, in my opinion, when I was younger, we really cared about these kinds of things, you know, and if you always like verify credit cards, remember when you had to like verify a credit card signature? And now, I mean, it's all tap. And it's gotten to the point where I'm always so curious about that aspect of like, it feels in my heart that like we got way sidetracked somewhere in terms of privacy. And then like, you know, we haven't even talked about like the outsourcing, or maybe we did and my kids are being loud, but the outsourcing of like, you know, telephone centers, you know, for your phone guys and your credit card companies and your, you know, all of these, we don't know who they are. They're in a completely different country with different laws. And they're, you know, they obviously have access to your entire phone history, your phone number, who knows what kind of data they have access to. And then on top of that, you know, you have apps like Temu, where you sign up and they have access to all of your background information, you know? And so I feel like we've sort of gotten away from this idea of privacy and security in the name of privacy and security. It definitely, for me, feels like we are living in an upside down world when it comes to this kind of stuff. And like you alluded to before, you know, we trust these people and these institutions that we don't know, and that we have, you know, we only do that because we've been told our whole lives to. But it has, you know, based on, you know, the introduction that Kristen was talking about, time and time and time and time again, we've seen these institutions be run by corrupt agreements, even, or just corruption in general. But like, you know, the fine print in these agreements, when you hit, you know, download the app that you have, you know, we don't even look at those because we don't, you know, we're just like, well, I just want the damn app, you know? So, yeah, anyways.
Here's the thing about that, right? Because yeah, you definitely tap, right? But I'm not going to lie. I have it to where I can't just tap. I have to actually enter a code behind it,
Okay.
or the transaction won't go through, because I have had situations where there has been, some nefarious things that have happened.
Mhm.
So I wanted that extra layer of protection. So for myself, even if I tap it, it's going to ask me for my code. It's going to ask me for a PIN associated with it, or that transaction will not go through. They can't just bypass it.
Yep.
So
Another thing that the blockchain facilitates is sensor resistance, right?
mhm.
Like Keto, you brought up earlier, that you you have to get the bank's permission to pull your money out, right?
Yes.
But on blockchain, you don't have to. Nobody can stop you from transacting.
Yeah.
So that comes with a freedom, right?
It does. And I think also, because, as of right now, say you walked into your bank and say you needed to take out $10,000. You're not going to be able to just walk out of there with $10,000. They do not have that on hand.
Nope.
Because if they actually give that to you, that would probably be all of the money that they would have for almost the entire day in order to transact and do business. And so they would not be able to give you that. They literally tell you have to come back 2 to 3 days later so that they can send out for this money to be able to give you, that's supposed to be yours, right? So for me, I'm like, no, not so much. And, I would rather be in control of all of that. You know what I mean? Even when it comes down to having your digital assets and cryptocurrencies in an exchange, right? It works the same in that respect. You know what I mean? That exchange, one, has to report to the government. That's one. And two, at the same time, depending on what exchange you're on, you're in a pot. It's not yours. You're in a big, huge pot. That's the reason why they have that memo, in order for you to be able to get to your piece of that pot. So when it comes down to it, there's, all across the board, we just have to be really aware and cognizant of how these institutions and how these particular platforms work, and then ultimately get to the point where you are self-custodying, because there's, not your keys, not your crypto. That's what we've been saying for how long now?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And, we understand that. New people coming into this don't.
No.
You know what I mean? They really don't. And until they get somebody that explains that, they're like, oh yeah, it's on the exchange. I've got it. It's fine. Not so much. FTX will tell you that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And what was the other
Let's
one? Celsius and
Yeah,
all of
Celsius.
all of the other ones. You know what I mean?
Voyager, I
That tells
think,
you.
too. And
What's
that's
that?
the same. It's the same with the bank, right?
Yeah, it
You
is.
have someone hold you. Here's the thing: if you're having someone hold your money, you have to trust that person to hold your money, institution or person, right? So we can self custody our own funds, which is great, but we might even still need someone to hold our money for different reasons, right? And blockchain has smart contracts and escrow, and specifically the XRP ledger, right? We have XRP escrow right now.
Yep.
We are waiting on token escrow. It's up for amendment, or pulled back because it didn't play nice with was it multi-token? I can't remember which one it didn't play it nice with. So imagine that where, like, say real estate transaction, right? Like right now you have to hand your money over to a title company, the buyer, and the seller has to sign the deed. Did you know that by law, the title company is required to offer you insurance to cover you if you lose money because the title company stole it?
Right.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because this happens.
Yes,
Has
it
happened.
does.
So people always freak out. And I'm like, if they're offering it to you, they're doing all the right things, but how do you actually know, right? So what if the money could go into an escrow, like a smart contract, right? And a smart escrow, and upon, this wallet receiving this NFT, which is the deed to the house, which we are far from, but deed the house as an NFT into this wallet, release these funds to the buyer.
Mhm.
And then it's on protocol level, right? The blockchain, it's
Can
an
happen
if,
automatically.
if this
If
happens,
this,
then
then
that
that.
happens. And you don't have to worry about it. If it doesn't happen, money comes back to me.
Before we go on, thing that was popping in my head is, the RLUSD coming into play here. We've been talking about the banks and, not being able to have access to your money. You can't walk into the bank. Oh, thanks, DC Crypto Tiger. We appreciate you.
That's that's Uga Tiger.
Hey,
Yeah.
Ooga Tiger, what's up? But so yeah, we rely on the banks, and let's not believe that banks are going to completely go away, because I don't believe that they are going to go away. At minimum, we're going to be living a parallel life with banks, right? For quite some time. However, having access to being able to convert into RLUSD, where maybe some places don't accept, quote unquote, your crypto, right?
Right.
They don't necessarily have to accept XRP or Bitcoin or some of these others. When if you did want to spend your Ethereum or your XRP, could be converted into RLUSD, right? As a way to access your funds, and it's on the blockchain. It's on the distributed ledger, and like you said, Lady K, these types of things can happen automatically through the use of smart contracts. And so, for anyone that's doubting that this is going to happen, it's going to. It is happening. Things are happening in the background, and it's going to happen less and less, where you're actually going to be wanting to walk into a bank and asking for $10,000 of cash, because you're going to be able to have your crypto liquid through the use of things like these stable coins like RLUSD and some of the other ones. So I think for me, all of this stuff is kind of coming together. I'm starting to understand it more and more. But while I don't fully understand everything, the more that we all talk, the better my understanding is. And so correct me if I'm wrong on any of that, ladies, but that was what was popped in my head when you guys were talking.
And Melissa, isn't that integrated with the whole Basel 3 and 4 compliance and stuff? That's about banks being liquid, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, where they have to hold, because before they didn't have to hardly have any of the money that you put in the bank. They could
And
turn around and
wasn't it really going back to the gold standard, that Basel 3 kind of trying to go back to the gold standard? Is that really what that was? Or is it just the fact that it's having the actual fundage to go along with whatever those deposits are?
I think it's having to do with having the actual funds that available, to where they're not able to just turn around and loan out. What was it before, you guys?
It was like 10%, and then during, at least here in this country,
that they had to
COVID.
hold, right? That they had to hold, which means they could turn around and spend 90% of your money.
Yeah,
Like that. That is.
and you don't know what they're
ridiculous.
spending it on.
You have
You
no
don't know what
idea.
they did with it, right?
No,
if
they
were
loaned
on
it
the
out to
blockchain-
somebody else and did the same thing and did the same thing and did the same thing and did the same thing.
It totally could have happened, right? We don't know. But if it was on blockchain, we'd be able to see where it went.
100%.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That.
During COVID, they suspended it, and now they have to hold 0.
well, so then where did Basel 3 and 4 come in? Because they were happening over COVID, weren't they? And like that's what I remember about these conversations like 2 or 3 years ago, although I wasn't having them with you ladies, and it wasn't really into the XRPL thing. It was that there was the banks, like what we were watching when some of the banks were going under per se. It was that this was happening, that they weren't meeting the deadline for how much funds they had. And also, side note, when you were just talking about you don't know what they're doing with the funds, I don't know if you guys heard about it. I don't have like the quote here. I don't know if you can pull it up, but TD Bank in Canada got dinged for like some $2 billion something for corruption. So they got caught for using the people's funds to facilitate corruption. And that's the kind of stuff that, I'm so against using the people's money to do bad things in this world. So, like you said, that's what I hope blockchain fixes.
100%. And they're the ones that are trusted to hold money, right? Like it's outrageous, Oh, what else is there? I mean, as far as we could talk about so many different things, like the transparency and the audibility.
I would like to talk about that, the public accountability factor for it, like you were bringing up, Lady K, whether it's an organization or a company or governments is the big thing. Which is why, I know a lot of people got frustrated with like Elon Musk and his Doge and all of that. But I truly believe that we are going to go towards a more transparent government eventually. I don't know when we're going to actually see it, but I know that there are I believe Metallicus is part of the governing board or something for Doge when it comes to governmental accountability. And so we could very well see those types of transaction on the public blockchain. And so all of these games that we get frustrated, we see these politicians playing and they're spending all this money, the tax dollars of this, that, whatever. When it's all on the blockchain and you're able to see it, that's important, right?
Huge. I mean, we'll be able to see where the money's really going. We'll be able to see who's being paid. I mean, and I don't know if we had to say it, because we do have a lot of new people, right? But the blockchain is an open public ledger, which means that you can see every transaction back to the beginning of the genesis, and it's a blockchain, so it's immutable, meaning it cannot be changed. So if you do something on the blockchain, you can't hide it. It can always be searched and checked. And so if we had our government go on this where they are accountable for their spending, I think because look at all the fraud, like Doge found all that fraud and waste, right? We could have found that so much faster. Yep. If we were in a transparent system. Voting, everybody's worried about who counts those ballots, and we have a certain amount of people in this room, a certain amount of people in that room, and we're down to people. And then now we're down to the last few elections, we can't even trust the people in the room, right? So if there was voting on the blockchain and everybody was able to submit a vote and you could see where it came from, who it came, I know people don't want to show their votes, but they could probably figure that part out. But you could see right on the blockchain how many votes came in and for who, and that they were valid votes. At least we could hide our identity, right? We talked about that with ZK proofs, but it could show the actual votes that came in. Then there you go. No more fraud there either.
Yep. And all of these things are being built out. They have been being built out for a very long time. And we've kind of been distracted over several years. I mean, at least for 10 years, but way longer. It's been going on for way, way longer than that. But definitely in the last 10 years where it's just been a storm that's been brewing. It's all over, and distraction and people arguing and, the chaos of it all. And, we touched on earlier where we said, yeah, we're just tapping. And, where, like Abdi said, we've gone so far over to the other side, right, with being so free. And I often say, there's always problem, reaction, solution. I fully believe that they let things happen for a reason to show you the flaws in such things so that they can bring in the solution to all these problems that they've been building, for all of these years. And so they're going to have their data. They're going to be able to tell you such and such a thing, right? And so for now, we have to be the stewards of our own privacy and protection, like what Kate is doing with her card. It won't let her just tap. She's got to put in her code. Or if you're signing up for something, if you are somebody that is into crypto, have a different email, have a different phone, have a different computer. Don't commingle your funds with your other life that you have not known all this stuff, right? Because you're gonna leave yourself out there and vulnerable. So yeah, I think it's a really good thing. What else you got, Lady K?
Well, I think it could give us more freedom, right? I mean, when we can transact without approval, when we can protect our own data, and when we can finally hold our government accountable for what it actually does, not what it says it does, I think we'll find more freedom and sovereignty than we've ever had.
I agree with you. It is very
Abdi sovereignty. Abdi wants talk sovereignty.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's what I'm saying. Abdi, tell us what the truthers are worried about.
Yeah, I was just like fingers crossed, right? Because like that's really, they won't touch it. Like most of them won't touch it. That's why I think it's so interesting that so many of the people that I'm close to on the XRPL are truthers by nature, because they've had to go through this sort of shift in their mindset around knowledge is power. And if I learn what's being built to enslave me, then maybe I will have at least the chance to either build something out that can, change it, meet the people who are part of, the systems, or at the very least, just not be just given propaganda that, like, oh, your bank account's now on this, bank's private utility token. They hold your keys, they hold your wallet, and they have all the control, and they have issued clawbacks with everything. And, you have no control, when it comes to learning and coming over on this side of things and sort of learning from the inside out. That's really what my entire project has been about, is like, okay, how do I learn everything I can possibly learn so that I can see door number 3 and maybe find all the other people who see door number 3, and that together we can build it. And like, Zoj, shout out to Zoj, Classy Zoj, and Mad Labs. I mean, he's just quintessential proof of, that you can find those that see what we see and is trying to create an alternative solution that is not controlled. Like, when it comes to some of these wallets, you don't get your secret key, you get, 8 different 6-number passwords. Well, that doesn't work on any other wallet. And, without Zoj and his little background, but zojhome.net, you can go there and you can plug in your wallet address and all your numbers, their password for Xammon, and it will give you your secret key. And I trust Zoj so much that, I trust Zoj more than I trust the computer that I'm on, to make sure that when it pops up, I just write it down on a piece of paper. But I went through all my wallets to do that, and one of the things I brought up to him a couple weeks ago is like, the one thing that I'm still concerned about is like, I've always had a really hard time with biometrics. It really scares the crap out of me, biometrics. But then at the same time, you think of like, all your wallets are written down on paper. And I think of like Lahaina or LA or the floods, last year. And I'm thinking like, how much was lost because, it's not connected to a thumbprint. It's connected to a piece of paper that went poof, and also, the concerns around trusting banks and these higher institutions. I think that there's still a lot to move through. But the sovereignty aspect, I mean, I think just what I've come to realize is just writing down your own keys is a big deal. Recognizing that like the guy on the other end of the line for your bank, you don't know him from Adam. He has your entire life in front of his face. He has everything. And, half the time, I don't know about you guys in the States, but in Canada, half the time they're not even born and raised here. And so, that does concern me, in terms of like, where is that data? I know they have all these protocols and stuff like that, but just like we know on all these, it's all human error and human, what I've become to learn over my lifetime is that the moral compass of a lot of people is not the same as me. And, people once given an opportunity, a lot of people will take that opportunity. And so I think for the people who are looking for sovereignty, really stepping into that, you can trust yourself more than anybody else. And I think the rest of this conversation is really about that, just about like stepping into how you can be in charge of your own stuff and not have to rely on the moral compass of other people or institutions.
Yeah, definitely. Can rely on, if the rules are known and checkable and auditable, I can't even say it.
Auditable.
And you can, you can choose to play or not, right? You know what to do. And so I think that's half the problem, is just not knowing. I mean, well, think of it this way too. Like, we give our money to financial advisors, or, they go and they put in the stock market and they make the decisions. And you do that because, one, you don't know what to do. And two, you don't have access, even if you did know what to do, right? Yeah. Well, if you were to give it to somebody, you could see on the blockchain, you could see it on the blockchain. But second of all, crypto actually opens the door to, access to these, DeFi programs 24/7 around the world. So I think it's really going to change the way people start investing. When you can invest your own, right? And how it's set up in the smart contract, or you're getting a representation of that token. I mean, I'm thinking like MXRP, right? It's a hedge fund. You give them your XRP, they give you MXRP. You have a representation that, of your ownership of that pool, and then you can pull it out. So you still trusting someone on that side to do the DeFi, but it's stepping us towards tokenization and ownership and having that representation on the blockchain.
And being able to participate in things that we normally wouldn't have been able to participate in. The little guys don't have a lot of money to invest in these big properties, right? Like say a couple $1 million project home where, they're going to rent it out for parties and whatnot, right? I couldn't afford to be a partner in that, but I could buy a couple shares to be in there and share, sharing. And, as long as whatever it is you're investing is solid, right? You have to make educated decisions and all of that. But it really does open up a world of opportunity for those with the eyes to see and those that are willing to do the work. Crypto and digital assets are not for sissies at all. And I will say this, I find it very interesting with the latest breach of one of the wallets. And we don't have to name the wallet. Well, let's just say every time there's a push where we start to be gaining some ground with people starting to really look and get interested in learning more about the digital asset space, there's some scare tactics that, this person lost $1 million or, ever so much money. And, I didn't know. And then the person that was on the fence to dip their toe into this a little bit, they're like, yeah, man, I can't do that. I'm here to tell you guys, you can learn this. You got to give it some attention. It does take some time. You got to find a network of people, but educate yourself. There's plenty of people out there now that are trying to teach people and help people along. Don't let things like that dissuade you from learning more about this, because this is the most best opportunity that you're going to get in your lifetime. And like Abdi said, I want to know what's behind door number 3, because they are going to create things where it is going to kind of channel people into a certain way of transacting, and it's going to be that way. And if that's what you accept, that's what you accept. Or you can have door number 3.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Well, I just want to add to that, just what you were just talking about with, oh man, I just lost it. I had it right there twice and it disappeared.
Think about it for just a second while I just say we have 16 minutes left. And first, we want to thank all of our friends that came in to hang out with us. It's this evening. We have 105 people that are listening to this conversation. And also, please, if you have any questions or want to make a statement that you would like to see on board, please put it in all caps so that we'll know that you have that question for us to ask.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's a vision of like sort of like funneling people, and that like if what I've learned, every single person has lost money. So start small, please. Just start with your $100 and just expect at one point you're gonna figure out that this is okay. Never do that again, because every single person I have ever met has lost something at the beginning. And so my concern is that because they're gonna be the push, like you just said, and people are so scared, it's going to be even more. You know what I mean? Because if you gradually go through this and you take time and you dip your toe and you learn slowly and you have the people, it's a lot less dangerous than if you jump in and you by accident send something over, one of the other blockchains that doesn't have the trust line thingy set up, and you by accident just send it to a random address. And it's just lost in the ether forevermore, never to be claimed again. Then you reach out for help, and then the help guy is a scammer. And then you know what I mean? Like it becomes this waterfall. And so I think that it's so important to empower yourself now and recognize nobody understands it. We've been in this for collectively 20 years, well, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years, some of us, and we're still learning things every single day. And so like what Kita, I love her behoove word, behoove you to at least have enough confidence that you're willing to recognize that it's going to take you a long time to learn all the little things to take your power back. And so please don't wait.
So we did have a question, and it's the second time this person has actually asked this, and it's, have you heard of TXC? Has anyone on the stage heard of TXC?
I'm not even sure.
And I did respond back asking what it is, because I have not heard of it either. Not saying that it's good, bad, or indifferent. I just have never heard of it.
I don't know if it has anything to do with what
The topic.
Yeah, I don't know if it has anything to do with the topic.
I don't either.
Perhaps it does, but I don't know if it does or not.
I agree.
We were talking about this on Winchester's Wednesday space. Actually, he was, and I had never actually thought about this, right? But like, you buy things, and some, how do you stop counterfeit? And he was like, if you had like an NFT, okay, that represented the physical item, and it got stolen, you could flag the NFT, and then if the physical item, that was attached to the NFT, you could scan it or do, however they set that up, right? There's QR code or NFC chip. And then it comes up, hey, flagged. I mean, think about how much that would save people, and how it would change the game in how you deal with retail, because, you could be more trusting, right? If you're able to verify that on chain.
I love that, Lady K.
I do too.
You've talked about that before, with tokenizing something and putting the chip in it. And I mean, I didn't even think about what you just said in terms of being fraudulent, right? Like somebody buys this, right? And if at some point we have access to those types of things, right? Like on our phone, if you go to buy something, it's like, oh, there's a chip in this. It'll say it's artwork or whatever it may be, and you scan it and it's like, this has been stolen, right? Like, yeah. You would know as the buyer and you would never buy it, or a car or any of this stuff. I think it's brilliant.
And that would be real transparency now, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like, talk about a trustless situation. Now that's trustless. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you literally are getting hey, this is a scam, and you get to choose whether or not you want to move forward or not.
You guys know what really excites me the most about the whole thing when it comes to having things on chain and tokenization and the freedom for the people and all of that, is that the little games that they play where they pit us against each other, they tell us lies and all of these things, the game is up when this is all transparent. even like you say, personal fraud. You buy something, someone steals it or whatever, makes it more difficult for them to actually get away with it. And then holding each other accountable, like, hey, this is a stolen piece of whatever, and probably I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be like, yeah, I'll pass. I won't buy it. Then I'd be like, call the cops. Yeah, this is, or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, I have hope.
How many deals do you pass up because you're like, that's too good to be true? It's probably stolen, right?
Well, even rental agreements. I mean, you're into real estate, how often now, I mean, we don't rent anymore. But how often, at the end of the last life I had, I was hearing about all my friends, like they'd hear a listing, they'd go and it wasn't listed. It was some rando person that stole the pictures, and they get you send them the down payment. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how like this might actually fix things like that, because that's terrifying. You send your first and last month's rent and it's not even theirs.
Oh, no, absolutely. It happens so often. It happens to me a lot. I have it listed. And then they take my photos of my listing and they throw it on secondary sites like Craigslist or Facebook, right? You call the police about it and they're like, well, that, we can't do anything about that. Like, we don't know who it is. It's out of state, yada, yada. That's not like their jurisdiction, right? They're, worried about DUIs or traffic tickets, I guess. So yeah. And I have people call me all the time going, I called this guy and he asked me to send money. I have had people tell me that they've sent the person money. Right. So it's like, that really would actually help, because if you could verify if they own the home by digital ID, because that's what they do. Okay, so you have me thinking about it, because they're like, I'm out of state, I can't meet you. And it's like, that sounds reasonable. Okay, I'll just send you the money through Western Union. But what if, even
and they're
if you're out
gone
of the state or out of the country, you could prove your identity to them so that they could verify you actually own the home?
Yeah. Yep. Easy peasy.
Without seeing the data. That's the key here.
Seeing your actual name or address.
Yeah, absolutely. And so first, let me just go ahead and give the less than 8 minute time check. And then on top of that, I will say, because I'm reading the comments here, and we actually had somebody ask if we were AI.
If we are AI, that's hilarious.
Correct. Yes, I just found that
one day they won't be able to tell.
and it is true. And it's just interesting because in a lot of instances, people may make fun of this conversation that we're having until it affects them. You see. So for me, I think this conversation is very appropriately timed, especially for some of the things that we've seen in the last week. So, this isn't the show to come on here saying things like that, because I'm the right one.
These all real.
If you don't like it, find another show.
Well, Gita, I was going to ask you about supply chain on the blockchain, how you would see that helping your business.
Well, the beauty of the digital asset space, which is I'm finding out, is if you had, and especially in utilizing NFTs that now have utility, because many, for a long time NFTs were just a pretty picture, and or it could be some type of a document that could be non-fungible, whether that be a deed, whether that be some type of a title or something of that nature, right? But what's happening now is we have real utility in an NFT, and because you can use the smart contracts, you can now basically program your NFT to do whatever you want it to do, right? So because of that, I'm excited, because for my own business, I would like to be able to utilize the NFTs to be a representative of inventory, right? And in utilizing that inventory, you have a real visual of how much inventory you have based on the amount of NFTs that you've sold, as well as you are now able to catch the metadata that comes across, right? Especially if you program it that way. So because of that, I'm excited, one, to be able to accept digital assets and cryptocurrencies as payment, but then also to be able to build a community around those people that are interested in my products or interested in being able to, one, control the way that they're able to exchange, whether that is a, hey, I'm going to purchase this NFT, I'm going to redeem this NFT for your product, right? And now you have that actual digital footprint that you can then go back and get that information for. So I find it to be a really great way to be able to do that.
I just love it. I love the thought process because, like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm really like, I don't want to eat bioengineered food, right? And I don't want to put like animal stuff on my face, right? So I can't wait until the supply chain is on chain and we can source back where the products are coming from, where the food was made, where the ingredients that went into making it came from, where the ingredients went into our makeup came from. And if it's all on chain, we don't have to just, trust that the ad said so. We can actually verify what we're using or what we're eating.
So what I do want to say is I know that we have about 5 minutes left. Just to let you know, there will be an after space on X for Digital Ladies Unscripted, where we can continue this conversation. So we will be starting that at 10:10 over on the X app. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of that so you can come and continue this conversation. Geez, Louise. First of all, Lady K, you're just a beast. I swear.
Oh, thank you. I hope people come and chime in though. And like, I'm sure they had thoughts as we were talking about this. So I hope that they come and state their thoughts on how blockchain can help facilitate trust that we just don't have in this day and age.
Yes.
I did post the link to the after space in the chat for those of you that are interested. And I'm going to post it underneath the live stream on both the Dipito show and my profile, World Be Free 888, so that you can find it easier.
And we only have really 2 minutes because the song.
Outro is 1 minute. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So all I wanted to say to land my plane was, it's exactly what I want for the Wandering Footprint, because I want the members to have little cards. So when they show up at the farm, they tap the card. It's trusted. They're a member. We all know that they're safe and that the farmer can, their profile can pop up, give them any warnings that they have, but that they're, facilitates, a one-on-one interaction. But there is like that first night, if you stop in late at night, the farmer can know that you're safe, and that there's a system in place that allows for trustless trust, trustless trust, guys.
Trustless trust. Amen.
Your final thoughts, Melissa?
My final thoughts is I just want to, anyone who's watching this, who's just starting to dip their toe into this a little bit, they might have come across this and going, what is blockchain's role in redefining trust? Dive a little bit deeper. Look into this stuff. Don't get scared off by the stories that are out there. There's a lot of really cool things being built right now. And this is your opportunity to get in on the ground floor and teach yourself about it and discover door number 3.
10 seconds. I don't have anything less to say except for check us on the after space, and we got 1 minute.
All right, guys, have a good rest of the night. Thank you.
Digital ladies breaking the chain, rising in crypto, we're changing the game. Crypto frontier, we're claiming our space. Not your keys, not your crypto, know your place. Unscripted, we're bold, we're free. Melissa Key, the Lady K, and I'll take Dipito. Come ride this wave. Digital wealth, we're here to pay.
now, we're setting the